Attention, building principals and assistant principals. Are you ready to unlock the transformative power of coaching in your school? Join me today on Empowered Educator as I talk about building staff capacity with coaching. We're going to talk about how to develop your coaching skills and become an effective instructional coach, create a coaching culture where teachers feel supported and empowered, and use coaching to identify and address challenges, which will lead to improved teaching effectiveness and improved student outcomes. So whether you're a seasoned principal or just starting out in your leadership journey, this episode is packed with practical strategies and actionable advice to help you build a high-performing school where every educator and every student can thrive. Let's get started. Hi, friend. Are you ready to move into a leadership position? Do you have interests and ambitions that you want to pursue, but feel like you don't know how to take that next step? Maybe you want to start your own coaching or consulting agency. I'm Mel, and I help educators define their career path through correct mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for your career transition. I will show you how to level up your leadership skills, share your expertise in a new way, create impact on a larger scale, and put your leadership in motion. As an educator for over 20 years, I started to feel underused and like I had more to give. I knew when the time had come for me to leave the classroom and affect change on a larger level. Now, I'm ready to help you determine where your talents and skills mesh with your passions and interests. Put your leadership in motion and move into that next phase of your educational career journey. Let me help you define your career path by having the right mindset, knowing your options, and getting prepared for that next leadership position. So power up and put your leadership in motion. Welcome back, Empowered Educators. I'm your host, Dr. Mel Vandevort. One of my favorite parts of my career is being an instructional coach and teaching teachers how to be more effective. As a principal, I was just learning how to be a principal for the first time, and I wasn't super great at being an instructional coach. But when I became a dean of instruction, I learned the right way to coach teachers. And I love it so much. And you know, I'm a professional development junkie. I absolutely love professional development, learning and growing my own skills, plus helping others grow their skills. But I love it so much that I've actually turned it into part of my career as an educational consultant. So not only do I work with principals on instructional mastery, I also go into schools and act as an instructional coach. Because sometimes you can't afford an extra person full time, but you still want that instructional coaching piece. And so I do that. I go into schools and I do instructional coaching. And I believe fully that as a building principal or assistant principal, you are the building's leaders of instruction. It is your job to know all about the instruction in your building, because your job, first and foremost, is to make sure that your students are getting what they need to be prepared for the next grade level, and then prepared as they leave the district into college or their career or the military or whatever it may be. As a building leader, you play a pivotal role in making sure that the culture in your building is one of a coaching culture. But if you're not really strong in that area and instruction wasn't necessarily your forte going into being a principal, then what do you need to do about that? Well, first, you need to develop your coaching skills. You have to seek professional development opportunities to enhance your coaching abilities. When I was a building principal, for the first time, I was not a great coach. I learned how to be a better coach by taking professional development to grow my own skills. And to get better at coaching, you have to practice. So you need to set aside some dedicated time for coaching. Schedule regular coaching sessions with your teachers and make sure they are protected from interruptions. None of this, well, I was busy dealing with students all day. No, that's not an excuse. Your primary job is to make sure that the students in your building learn. Now, I'm not saying don't deal with behaviors, but there's a time and a place. And sometimes we feel like students can't wait, that we have to deal with discipline immediately. And that is simply not true. Now, yes, there are instances where you have to deal with it immediately, but not every instance needs you to stop what you're doing and deal with something. One thing I prided myself on as I became a much more seasoned classroom teacher was not sending kids to the office. I learned to manage my students well. One of the reasons I did that well was because I was very organized. I had structures and procedures. I let the students have ownership in the classroom, and that helped with my student management. So look at your data. If you have students coming to you from specific classrooms all the time, then that's a teacher issue, not a student issue. And you need to deal with that so your students can stay in their classrooms and they can stay learning. Because guess what? Students also, they do some avoidance behavior and they maybe don't want to be in class. So guess what? They're going to cause a reason to come to you. And if you stop what you're doing and you interrupt what you're doing as the building instructional leader, then they win. And they get exactly what they want. But they need to be in the classrooms learning. And as a classroom teacher, nothing irritated me more than to be interrupted for students being called to the office during my instructional time. You have to establish open and honest communication with your staff. Create a space for feedback and growth. So your action step is to reflect on your current coaching practices and identify areas where you can improve your skills. And it's so important to create a coaching culture. And that shouldn't just fall on your shoulders as the building leader. Yes, it is your job to make sure that instruction is the priority in the building. But you can do that by delegating that responsibility to some of your amazing superstar teachers. Set clear expectations. Communicate the importance of coaching and its role in professional growth. Sometimes I think teachers think that coaching is punitive. That is simply not the case. I have a business coach. I had a book coach when I wrote my book because I needed to know more about it. It wasn't that I didn't necessarily know how to write a book, but I wanted to write a good one, so I had a coach. As a principal, I had a coach. As a teacher, I would have benefited immensely by having an instructional coach. But I didn't know that until I was no longer in the classroom. So you have to set up that culture where coaching is sought after, where it is not just for those who need to grow in an area, but it's for everybody because we all have growth areas. Celebrate coaching. Start with building strong relationships with your teachers. Get to know them as individuals. Understand their strengths and their challenges and show them that you value their perspective. And this is going to help create that foundation of trust and respect, making them more receptive to coaching. And one of the ways that you can learn about their strengths, but also their growth areas, is to be in their classroom when they're teaching. You cannot coach a teacher by being in their classroom once every quarter or once or twice a year. That is not going to cut it. You need to be in there all the time, seeing what's happening, seeing the great teaching and where they can grow. And explain that coaching's not about evaluation or punishment, that it's not punitive. Rather, it's about supporting your teachers in their professional growth and development. Emphasize how coaching can help them improve their teaching practices, increase student engagement, and ultimately improve student outcomes. And you have to involve them in the coaching process. Ask for their input on setting coaching goals. This gives them that sense of ownership over the process, and it makes them feel more valued in the whole process. And you have to provide high quality coaching. So if you are not strong in your coaching skills, then you need to get some coaching to be better at coaching. And when you go in classrooms weekly, which I know you're going to because that's what you need to be doing, you need to celebrate the great things that you're seeing in there. It doesn't have to be a big celebration. You can leave a sticky note saying, I noticed that you did this today and it was fantastic. I noticed that you have great classroom management. I noticed that you did, I do, we do, you do excellently today. I noticed that your lesson was fully prepped and ready to go and you didn't have any downtime. It just takes a second to make your teachers feel valued in what they do in the classroom every day. So your action step is to develop a plan to create a coaching culture in your building. This includes strategies for setting expectations and making time for coaching many times throughout the week. Effective coaching helps teachers identify areas for improvement and then develop strategies to overcome them. And to do this, you have to be in classrooms. You have to see what's going on, and you have to identify those areas where teachers need support and guidance. Then you need to set some specific goals. Collaborate with the teacher to establish clear and measurable goals for their improvement. And then provide regular feedback. Offer constructive and timely feedback to help teachers track their progress and make adjustments as needed. So your action step is to get into classrooms and see what's going on. Set a schedule so you can be in there on a regular basis and protect your time. Put it in your calendar so it's protected. Building staff capacity with coaching is a very transformative strategy that empowers your teachers, and it enhances their teaching effectiveness. And ultimately, it improves student outcomes, which is what we are wanting to happen. And as a building leader, you have the responsibility to foster a coaching culture, to develop your own coaching skills, and to use coaching to identify and address those challenges that teachers face. Thank you so much for listening today. I would love it if you would join my online community at Empowered Educator. I'll have the link in the show notes. I have lots of resources for you, and we can connect that way. And you can connect with other building leaders and share your experiences and continue this conversation past today. Together, we can create a positive and supportive learning environment for everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to Empowered Educator. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you listen and leave a 5-star rating and a review. Your support helps me to reach more building leaders and make a difference in the field of education. Let's empower every educator, inspire students, and transform education together.